gold under the paint. 1. Introduction. A secret in the putty car painter, Joseph Bauer loved his job. He could spend hours perfecting car bodies, making dents disappear so seamlessly that even a professional wouldn't notice. But he had another craft, an almost jewel-like skill of hiding valuables beneath layers of putty and paint. He never made sudden moves, never rushed. Calmness was his shield. Regular customers came for paint jobs. Special ones came for cargo. One night, a black Mercedes pulled into his workshop. A man in an expensive coat stepped out. "Do it the way you do," the stranger said, leaving a heavy pouch on the hood. When Joseph unwrapped the fabric, his eyes gleamed. Under the moonlight, gold sparkled. 2. The art of concealment. The workshop smelled of solvent and metal. Joseph emptied the pouch onto his workbench. Thin chains, rings, gold bars, all of it had to disappear, become part of the car. He opened a can of putty. The thick white mass stretched as he scooped it up with a spatula. Slowly, with precise skill, he mixed gold dust into it, embedding the valuables into structures that, once finished, would be indistinguishable from the car's metal. Sometimes he soldered chains between layers, making them part of the reinforcement ribs. Sometimes he embedded gemstones into hidden cavities, only detectable by X-ray, and only if someone knew where to look. Joseph loved his work. 3. Crossing the border. The car was ready. At first glance, just an ordinary black BMW X5 with a faint scent of fresh paint. Joseph took the wheel himself. The border was busy. Trucks, cars, buses. Joseph didn't rush, driving smoothly. The key was to be invisible. "Good evening, your documents." The border officer was young but sharp-eyed. "Of course." Joseph handed over his passport. "Where are you headed?" "Visiting relatives." The officer hesitated. His gaze swept across the hood, then the roof. "Turn on your hazard lights," he suddenly said. Click. The lights flashed. Joseph tensed inside but kept his face calm. "Turn off the engine and open the hood." Joseph obeyed. The officer stepped closer, ran his fingers over the freshly painted metal, then squinted. "Something wrong?" Joseph's voice was perfectly steady. "No, just..." The officer suddenly smiled. "Nice paint job. Looks like a professional did it." "Thank you." The barrier lifted. The BMW glided forward. After the turn, Joseph exhaled. 4. The discovery. But all secrets are uncovered sooner or later. One evening she came. Katerina, his woman. "Joseph, you don't just paint cars, do you?" He didn't answer, just looked at her. "A man came to me asking about you, what you transport, where you hide it." "Who came?" "I don't know, but he had a police badge." Joseph knew it was time to leave, but it was too late. That same night, the workshop was surrounded. 5. Escape from the trap. Joseph saw shadows moving along the walls. "What's your move?" Katerina whispered. The car stood by the exit. But was there a chance? At the back of the garage, there was a narrow passage leading to the neighboring warehouse. He sprinted there, Katerina right behind him. Behind them, a commanding voice shouted, "Stop!" Gunfire erupted. Joseph crawled through a narrow ventilation shaft. Outside, the air smelled of wet asphalt. In a nearby alley, an old van stood with the keys in the ignition. "Looks like someone's having bad luck tonight," he smirked. The engine roared. The van sped away. 6. An old friend. 2 hours later, they were on the outskirts of the city. Joseph pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "Joseph?" The voice on the other end was surprised. "Hello, Thomas." Thomas Becker, his old friend. Once, they had worked together in a repair shop, but their paths had diverged. Thomas joined the police. "Do you have any idea what's happening?" Thomas continued. "Yes, and I need help." A pause. "Where are you?" 7. The escape plan. Half an hour later, a black Ford pulled up at an old warehouse. Thomas stepped out. "You're in deep trouble, Joseph." "I know." "Any plan?" "Just one. Disappear." Thomas hesitated. "In 2 days, a truck leaves for Italy. If you're inside." 2 days? I don't have that long." "Then tonight." Joseph nodded. 8. The investigator watches. Meanwhile, at police headquarters, investigator Gerhard Lehmann stood by the window, gripping a report. "He'll escape," he said quietly. "But we have roadblocks, cameras. You don't know Bauer." Lehmann picked up the phone. "Increase patrols, check all private trucks." But would they be in time? 9. The last chance. At the warehouse, Joseph sat inside a dark shipping container. Thomas patted his shoulder. "The truck leaves in an hour." Joseph nodded. Katerina pressed against him. "Will you come back?" He looked into her eyes. "Of course." The container door shut. The truck rumbled forward. Behind him, the old life was left behind. Ahead, uncertainty. A month later, in another city, at another auto repair shop, a man in overalls was mixing putty. His name was different, but his hands were the same.